Welcome to the MuseCast, where we squeeze every last drop of inspiration out of Sunday's sermon.
You did that on purpose.
I had an itch.
Yeah, you had an itch.
I did.
You guys, I was ready. I was poised. There was no lipstick on my teeth. I was ready. And Dan, he just wouldn't have it. He just wouldn't have it. He had to be goofy. Wait, I need to
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now we're ready.
Now we're ready. Hey everyone, happy Muse Day. Thanks so much for tuning in. He's Dan Kent. I'm Shawna Boren. And in case you are new, welcome. And we are pastors at Woodland Hills Church. And every week we come together and have a conversation about Sunday's sermon. This week, you guys I'm going to call it a special treat because after all, remember, Dan, these are premium subscribers.
That's right.
And we got to give them bang for their buck. So this week we're going to talk about, I don't even know, could you call that a sermon from Sunday? The conversation, the skit, the dramedy, all of it that happened on Sunday. Yeah. And then the really sweet, surprising, because of the numbers that were there, worship and prayer, election eve service that we had last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very confident, obviously, on what all we're calling all these things. But...
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It's in fact, it was so busy, and you worked so hard yesterday as well. And like, I'm in my chair. I don't even have the desk in stand up mode because I'm too tired to stand. I'll stand tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow for sure. Also, so that service last night was over, I don't know, 8:00 or something. It doesn't matter. So anyway, I got home between 8:30 and 9:00. I'll just say, I will let you all know, never fear. I took one for the team. I stayed up late. Chiefs game went into overtime, but we pulled it out. We won. So we're good. Everyone can calm down. We're good. We're still undefeated.
Yep. Yep. Everything's coming up Shawna right now is really the situation.
So good.
Yeah. Hey, I'll have to say, maybe I'll save it, but I guess here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, will you or I get any mention at all when Bill and Greg have their acceptance speech at the Oscars? Right. That's kind of what I want to know. Will they mention us?
Will they remember the little people? Those of us who supported them and stood by them on their rise to the top. You know what the first thing I thought of, and this is so very serious, Dan, when I was watching it in real time on Sunday, I was like, I wonder what this sermon is going to be like. Is it going to be a reenactment? Is it going to be, what in the world is my partner Dan going to do?
Yeah. Well, and that's funny too, because they left the robes in the front seats in the sanctuary. And so Charlie grabbed them and I'm like, Charlie, I want one of those for MuseCast. And he's like, oh, okay. They'll be in Mary's office. And I forgot. No. I was going to wear one of the robes for the MuseCast. Man, that's such a bummer. I
missed opportunity, Dan. Yeah. Missed opportunity. That would have been hilarious. I don't know if I would have made it through the show. Yeah. That would have been cool. Okay. So Sunday we had Bill Doherty and the good Dr. Gregory Boyd. I should say Bill Doherty is a Dr. Bill Doherty and Dr. Gregory Boyd. There you go. Putting on display their acting chops in a again, not a sermon, a situation. Dan, what do I call it? You're the word guy.
A skit. It's a skit.
A skit. It was a skit. And then they talked a little bit afterwards. So skit conversation entitled Jesus Needed a Campaign Manager.
Did Jesus need a campaign manager? That's
okay. I'm done. I'm going to take a nap. Go ahead.
I'll summarize it. There's just, it went so all over the place that there's no like structure to it, other than it was just structurally conceptualized around Jesus. And so a couple of the things, so you start off with these two first century fellas in their first century garb. And one of them we find out right away is the Apostle John, the disciple John. And that's who Greg played. And so I don't know if he's going to be on IMDb over this, but that's who he played. And so then you have Bill, who is kind of trying to get to Jesus through John, because John is Jesus's favorite disciple. And he's basically giving John campaign advice on how Jesus can grow his platform in a more kind of effective way. And in the process of this, you start to see how upside down and counterintuitive Jesus's ministry really was, because by the world standards, this person who is talking to John is right, and he has these very effective ideas on how to have an effective campaign. But we really start to see how unique Jesus is through this way. And then at the end of the skit, we find out that Bill is actually Judas, is the one who is given this advice. And so then they have this conversation, and really the conversation and also the election eve service last night really kind of consolidated a lot of the stuff that we've been saying in our politics series, and even a little bit in our Revelation series. And so it was sort of like what would you call it? Like a Cliff Notes version, kind of a what's the Bible Project type version of our whole kind of view of faith and politics. And so you had all of our greatest hits basically on Sunday and Monday. We talked about the lordship of Christ and how Christ is our true king or president. And we talked about how the power of the cross is way different than the powers of the world. And we looked at the poison that causes this us versus them thinking. And we talked about how it's important to follow Jesus's command not to judge one another and to leave all judgment to God. And these are the types of things that happen during these election seasons, is that we judge and we end up in this us versus them thinking. And really the whole kind of hustle toward political power is sort of an ascent into this power over mindset, which is exactly opposite of what Jesus calls us to, which is this power under washing feet, kind of sort of a descension mindset. And then Bill sort of ended the service on Sunday with four kind of takeaways, I guess you could say, all around being vigilant. And so the first one is to be vigilant about not getting caught up in your political party, whether you win or lose, in victory or defeat. Don't make that your identity. Don't showboat, don't lament, just, because that's not where our hope is. And the second one is to just remember that to focus on God's mission and to not make everything that's happening in politics about me, and to focus rather on what our objective is. And the third one is to just remember that it's about serving the world, not about controlling the world. And it's about trying to answer the question, how can I make those around me better? Not how can I control others? And I think that's important. And then something that really helps is to be vigilant about deflecting glory. And because that's where, a lot getting puffed up on the results of these things, and in anything really, that getting puffed up goes against sort of this foot washing, power under mindset. And so I think that was a good reminder. And then on Monday, we kind of tapped into a lot of these same themes with worship sprinkled in as well. And I definitely want to get your take on that. But basically how that was is each of us, you, me, and Greg, reflected on a verse from scripture and kind of talked about how that related to our political climate that we're in right now. But I'll say this before I hand it over to you. I was telling Jerry and some of the worship people that I was feeling sort of spiritually lazy, and I was not really looking forward to worship. Partly because we had a long day already at that point, and I was probably kind of tired. And boy, that first song I heard when we came into practice, just turned me upside down, and I was like excited all of a sudden. And it was a really great worship set, and I really liked the song that Danny sang right after I spoke. And I don't know what it was called, but boy, he just nailed it. And and what a lot of people said afterward is that they said, "Boy, I really needed that," and that's the way I felt too. I didn't know I needed it, but boy, it was really, it was I don't know, it solidified me in a way that felt good, and I feel great today, and I have no anxiety about what happens in this election, and I think that's partly due to this type of service that we had. So that's my summary and my take on it. I'm interested to hear what you thought of the whole thing.
Nice job, Dan. Nicely done on a very different type of situation, both Sunday and last night. Okay, so I'll start with Sunday. Did Jesus need a campaign manager? I thought full transparency, I didn't know how the skit would go. I didn't know, meaning, did I trust that Greg and Bill could be, quirky and funny and cute and all that stuff? Yes. Did I trust that they would be able to communicate the content that they felt like was important? Yes. I just didn't know how that would play out in real time, like on the stage in front of folks and da-da-da. So it was good. People that were on site in the room responded well. So it felt like it was a good, positive thing. And I thought it was clever the way that you realize, who Bill was, the character he was playing, Judas, and throughout that. And so, yeah, I thought that was clever. The one thing I want to say about their conversation or their brief teaching time after the skit was I really appreciated how they differentiated between us as humans, as Jesus followers, and our role in the trying to resist the I will ascend mindset that we've talked about. Yes, throughout the political distortion series that we did, but also primarily throughout Revelation. And they made the distinction of that is we are talking about us as individual humans that live within a society and how we are to treat one another and our heart posture toward one another. We can't put those same expectations on government or, state officials or these roles of, whether you are in, the armed forces or the police department or anything like we can't put those same standards on those roles. And I appreciated that because, and this is just a very small part of it, but it's something that stuck out to me. So I wanted to mention it. I appreciated that because I feel like that was some of the most common pushback I get whenever we talk about loving enemies and power under and not, not returning kind for kind or tit for tat and all of that, and being a people of nonviolence. That the pushback I get is well, you can't run a country that way, and you can't run a police force that way. And I get all that, and so I just appreciated that the distinction they made there. Like, we're talking about us in our life every day, not these official roles. And then transitioning to last night, it was Election Eve, Keeping Perspective was how we titled that service. And I, like you, wasn't super, it had been a long day. Weather was a little glum. It's getting dark like at 3 p.m. now. So it was just like, I just want to go home and hunker down and maybe even, take care of my anxiety in other ways. I don't know. But I will say it was really pleasantly, to me, surprising how many people came. And I too heard several people, if not most people that I talked to, say, I really needed this. And I felt the same way. I didn't realize I needed it, but I really needed it. I really needed to be together, to be unified, to worship. Those songs, you are so right, were just so perfect, and just the theme and just the vibe that it set. I just was really appreciative of it. And the way that we took different passages, New Testament, Revelation, Old Testament, and all talked about just perspective and keeping that perspective and focus on King Jesus, I thought was really helpful. And I do think that it is just a timely, of course, reminder that regardless of what happens today, and for those of you who don't know, like today's an election day in our country. And so with that comes some anxiety, and with that comes all, just the stirring up of the feelings and the emotions that people have had throughout the season. And so I'm so thankful that we as a church body said, we're going to come together. And we're not going to be anxious, and we are going to put our eyes and fix our attention on Jesus, because that is what will hold. That is our firm foundation. That is the anchor in it all. And so, yeah, I just thought it was a great time. Really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I didn't even know that we had a name for our service last night. I thought it was just election service. Yeah. So
yeah, election eve, keeping perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because when this is playing, as people are watching this right now, even though it's not right now for you and me right now, but it will be right now for you and me then.
Yes.
So, but the point is I will have already voted. So at that point, I haven't voted yet, but I will have
voted
by the time this plays. So
I have already voted.
Get out.
I did early voting because my son, my number 2, he's a first time voter, and he wanted to vote here at home before. He could have voted away at school. He's in Illinois, but he wanted to vote here at home, and we did that together before he went back to school. So done.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so, today I am just remembering that, we're going to be okay, regardless of the branch that we find ourselves sitting on. If you think about the little bird that I
love that bird analogy. I love that. That bird analogy was worth the price of admission by itself. That was great.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. We are not, our stability, our confidence isn't in our government, in a candidate, in the laws of the land. That's not where our stability lies. That's not where our confidence lies. And so we're just going to keep that in perspective throughout the day. And let's be real, the next several days is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I thought I had a question for you, Dan, but honestly, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
And this will be an interesting nugget time if we're going to transition to that. Because like I said, just the last 2 days have been a little different, but I have faith and confidence in us that we would be able to do that. But I did wanted to give you an opportunity if there was anything else that you wanted to say, because I don't want to just, steamroll us into nugget time.
I think we should just go to nugget time. I think this is a unique week and a unique MuseCast. So I said we move on.
Okay, let's do it. Okay.
Wait. Hold on. Let me switch cameras here because okay, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yay.
It's nugget time. Look, Todd's doing it as well back there.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He's right there with us doing the nugget time dance. Okay, Dan, I'm gonna need you to go first.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey, this is what I would say is, one of the things that people have when they vote, a lot of times there are things that they like about their candidate, and that's why they vote. And sometimes they're driven to vote for one person because of the fears about the other person. And the fact is that I think personally that both candidates are going to have pluses and minuses. There are good things that each of them will bring. And there are also things that each ideology leaves out. And so what I would recommend is to have a a servant game plan for both. And so, okay, if this person wins, that means that my opportunity to serve will be in this way. And if this candidate wins, then my opportunity to love and to serve will be in this way. And that way, it doesn't matter who wins. You have a game plan ahead of time, and that's the way it is. Like if you look at people who are investors, that's exactly what they do. They say if Trump wins, these are the stocks that will benefit. If Kamala wins, these are the stocks that will benefit. And to just have a game plan ahead of time. And how do I profit from this? But the spin on that is, how do I profit from this spiritually? How do what will my posture be and what will my opportunities for serving be depending on who wins? And so I think that's a much better mindset to be in, because then you have a game plan and you have you're not so your hopes and your heart is not dangling on a win or a loss. You're ready for either, and I encourage people to have that posture. So that's my nugget for today.
I cannot believe this, Dan Kent. Really, I cannot. Many times our nuggets mesh nicely together, and that's to be expected. We're hearing the same stuff several times. We're having a conversation. I cannot believe how similar our nuggets are today. When we weren't even sure, like, if we were going to have them or could we have them. So I don't know what that means for our two brains and this partnership of the MuseCast, but I will say this is my nugget. It is, how can we love well, regardless of what happens today, regardless of what happens, whatever is announced, whichever candidate wins at the end of the day. And by the end of the day, I don't mean like this literal day, because we know it could maybe take some time. How do we love well? Because whatever happens, there are going to be those who are hurting. Whatever happens, there are going to be those who are anxious. Whatever happens, there could even be some anger. Whatever happens, there could be just this feeling of immense fear. And so how can I love well? We still have a calling. We still have a purpose. We still have the identity as children of God, as reflectors of Jesus, to be his light and his love in the midst of a dark world. How do we continue to do that? Who we are doesn't change. Who we believe in doesn't change. Our foundation doesn't change. And our character and our heart posture doesn't change. We go about doing the business of reflecting the light and love of Jesus wherever we go, wherever we find ourselves, whomever we encounter, regardless of who is named the next president of these United States. So
that's right.
That's my nugget.
Excellent. That's awesome.
Okay, guys. Hey, listen. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I just want to just bring this to your attention. I don't know if you know this, but it is, it's November 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
November 5th. So that's almost a week past Halloween. I'm still seeing a lot of death and skulls and witches and all sorts of the dark world on your shelves. And
it's
so
a bit of spooky season here. Listen,
yes.
The weather is it's not like, and so I have said to the kids, hey, what about if this year we literally just kind of start like close the door on Halloween, trick-or-treaters, thank you so much. And then boom, let's do Christmas. And they were like, we were not raised this way, mother. We will not be doing that. And so there has to be some sort of a little fall transition, but I'm not doing it. I think you will begin to slowly see the background change into more festive, fa-la-la-la. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe Todd will get like a little Santa hat or something. Maybe we'll just do it that way, because I like my little buddy back there. And the Funko Pops, those have to stay. That's Wizard of Oz. So but maybe I could rearrange the order a little bit.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
I think, put a few hours of thought into it. And I think that,
that'll be a great use of my time.
Right.
If you guys have comments, suggestions for the back shelf, maybe you can send them to, Dan is showing you, MuseCast at whchurch.org. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. We are so confident in Jesus and confident in this community because of you guys. And yeah, we're gonna be good. It's gonna be fine. We look forward to seeing you at 4 p.m. on the chat, and have a great week, everyone. And we will see you next time.